I'm Amber Philpott from WKYT, and you are listening to another edition of Uniquely Kentucky. I am a Kentucky gal, born and raised, and love all things about the bluegrass, and I hope you do too. If you have been listening, and we certainly appreciate if you have, you know that this is our fourth episode of Uniquely Kentucky, and we wanted to take a moment since we are in the middle of the Christmas holiday season, the hustle and bustle, and talk some tradition among our WKYT family, namely myself and the guys that I call my TV husbands, Chris Bailey and Sam Dick. And we just wanted to talk about some things that were important to us in our families and what we've been doing over the years when it comes to Christmas, and also some things that we do together as a WKYT team for the holiday season. And something else during this podcast, I'd like to share with you a story that I produced for WKYT with a gentleman who I absolutely love. If you ever need to know anything about Kentucky and its history, the go-to guy is Mr. Ron Bryant. He is a Kentucky history aficionado. He knows it all. I'm always amazed by the things that I ask him, and he always has the answer for something. So I produced a story for WKYT for Christmas, just talking about some of the Christmas traditions from past days in Kentucky, things that go all the way back to the 1800s, things on the frontier, and just took a kind of a neat trip down Christmas history lore. And Ron kind of answered some questions of why we might be doing the things we are today because of some traditions from years past. So that's a pretty interesting story, and I want to be able to share that with you. But ultimately, I just hope that you are having a wonderful holiday season and that you're going to be able to spend it with your family and your friends, and you're going to be able to forget about the hustle and bustle and just enjoy the magic of the season. So let's get to it. Let's talk WKYT Christmas tradition with Sam Dick and Chris Bailey. Guys, thank you all so much for coming on.
It's an honor, right, Chris?
It is. I mean, you know, this is one of the new podcasts. We're one of the first guests. We're not the first, Sam, but you know what? It's okay.
I was holding out for a very special place for both of you. So Christmas is very special, and we spend a lot of time with each other.
Yeah.
And so we are family, and I think one of the things that I wanted to let people know is that we really talk about a lot of family things together. We know what's going on, I think, pretty much in our families. And so Christmas seems like the perfect time to talk about that. Tradition. I mean, everybody has their own tradition.
Yeah.
So tell me about, Sam, your family tradition, thinking back to Christmases a long time ago.
Well, you know, one of the things that I really like to do to make Christmas special is to go to church on Christmas Eve. I just feel like it's really important. I've done midnight mass. I've rushed from the 11 o'clock news trying to make midnight mass in Lexington, which is always interesting. Noelle and I were married in the Lutheran church, so sometimes we go back to the church that we were married in Centralia, Illinois, where she's from, and we go to like a 10 o'clock service. And if it's snowing outside, if Chris allows it to snow, it just gives you that feeling of peace and contentment and just something special about going to church before the morning where you open up presents. That's you know, it's special.
I grew up in a really small country church where there's maybe 25 of us on a good Sunday. So that was always very special. Is on Christmas Eve, we would go, and that little country church all lit up. The lights are down. We only have candles, and there's something incredibly special about that. I mean, I can think back to very, very small when we would go do that, and we did that, and then we went and did whatever else we did for Christmas Eve. And you're right, there is something really nice about doing that before the craziness of Christmas morning and all those gifts.
Is that something you started as a child, Sam? Midnight Mass and everything?
You know, I was raised a Catholic when I lived in Louisville, and I remember going to midnight mass, which was a really cool thing when you're like 6 or 7 or 8 years old to be able to stay up that late. And then you come out and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. But the other thing that we do that I've talked to you all about before is that's become a tradition is that we get a Christmas tree for Thanksgiving because we have family come from all over this part of the country to come to our house for Thanksgiving. And so we've got some little ones. Some of my nephews are like 6 and 8 years old. And I thought, you know what? Let's let them decorate the tree. I'll get the tree, I'll set it up, and we'll put Christmas lights on. We'll let them decorate the tree, and then they open up Christmas gifts on Thanksgiving Day. And, of course, when you're that young, you just want the gift. I mean, you could care less that it's Thanksgiving. So it brings some Christmas home to me because I'm not going to be with them on Christmas Day.
Sure.
Yeah.
So-
You're a mountain boy.
Oh, yeah.
Chris. Any different in the mountains in Salyersville?
A few things. I grew up like you in a smaller church. My grandfather was a deacon. We used to go on Christmas Eve to a little holler, and it's a holler, people, all right, called Bee Tree, all right, where my mom's family is from. So we'd go up there, we'd do the Christmas Eve church thing, then we'd go back, and when I was a little kid, I'm talking about little kid, I had all kinds of hair. It was longer than yours, Amber, at the time, which is
Hard to believe.
Hard to believe, A, that I had hair, and B, that it was that long. But Santa would come twice.
Ooh.
That's how important I was. All right.
Somehow we knew that,
As
right?
the favorite grandkid,
Yeah.
because I would get Santa at my grandparents' when I'm 2 or 3. Then we'd go back home, city kid in Salyersville, and then Santa would be there, had stopped there while I was asleep. So that was really neat to have two different ones. And we always, family was everywhere, and we kept that tradition up, for a long, long time. Obviously, as you get older, things kind of change, and family members pass on and move on, and then, but yeah, I'll still go back and at least get a little bit of that at some point leading up to Christmas.
Do we have a favorite thing about Christmas? I mean, I think all of us should probably say church and being in church, and we've said that, but is there something very special that sticks out to you just about the season and what comes along with it?
I'm a Christmas freak, as you know.
You are.
I mean, I love collecting old Christmas ornaments or old historic Christmas memorabilia, just things like that. I'll go online and I will go on some of these auction sites, and I've got wreaths from the 1940s.
Wow.
Candles from the 1930s and 40s, Christmas cards that date back. And it's really cool because you get to see other people's writing on there, and you have no idea who they are, who they're writing to, but you can see these old historic Christmas cards from almost 100 years ago now.
And you have a ton of nutcrackers, right? You've got a collection of those.
Winter when she was a kid was always in the Nutcracker. She was a dancer, still a dancer, and so she started collecting nutcrackers. We have 500 plus nutcrackers, probably.
Wow.
Do you really?
Yeah, and they go from all sizes. I'm talking about 2 inches tall. We have 4 or 5 that are 6 feet tall.
Where do you keep them when you're not celebrating Christmas?
Everywhere, except
they're tucked in
except the main
closets.
floor.
They're under the bed.
We should do a
Yeah.
story on that.
Yeah.
500?
Roughly, give or
He's
take.
been holding
yes.
out on us the best story that we could do for
I had
Christmas.
no idea it was that number. I've heard you talk
it's up.
about
Oh
it.
gosh, it's pretty.
So I
crazy.
kind of rival that because I'm not maybe 500, but
See?
something that's incredibly special to me is when I was little, my mom started me off with my first starter kit of ornaments, and it was this really big grouping of about 50 plus ornaments. And then every year, so I'm 38, my mom has bought at least 1 or 2 ornaments every year.
That's
so
neat.
now it takes me literally 2 days to unbox every ornament, put them up, but every ornament as it goes on the tree is so special because it has a story behind it. And my mom has also usually written in the box a message to me. So there's one, for example,
sweet. That's sweet.
with 2 people that are on phones talking because I call my mom every single day at the same time between 10 and 11. So that one is to kind of remember that. And that is that is just those are my prized possessions. When I open that up every year, I've seen them for 38 years, but when I open every one and I take the time to unwrap it, and then it's so sad when I put it away because you're packing them up and I won't see them again for a whole year.
There's a story we should tell about her, and that is that they wear PJs.
Oh yeah.
And
Everybody.
I think they even talk her husband Steve into participating.
We want pictures
That's
of that
a
next
new
time.
tradition around. I know a lot of people do that. It's become really popular, but my mom and I really wanted to do it. But in our household, especially in the Hill household with my husband, there's no red. It's only blue.
Of course.
So we couldn't wear the traditional red pajamas. We had to find UK blue ones. So he does participate for the one Christmas Eve sleeping in the Christmas morning, and then my mom and I just wear whatever pajamas the rest of the week that we want to wear that match. So
Now, is there an hour quota that Steve has to have the PJs? on?
he asked about that, so
Is there a time limit?
I know. I say, well, how about an hour before we go to bed and about 4 hours after we get up, and then he wants to put something else on.
So I'm picturing that scene in Christmas Story
Oh,
where
yeah.
he's got the
Does he have the bunny
The
ears?
rabbit,
bunny
yeah.
on,
That's
and his
Steve.
dad goes, take it off,
Yeah.
take it off, and he goes running up the steps.
Yeah.
That's Steve.
That's him pretty much to a T. So you talked about what kind of tradition you kind of started sort of new with your family. Is there something that's a holdover, though, Sam, that you've tried really hard to hold on to over the years and make sure that you've incorporated with your family and your kids?
Ornaments. We've got ornaments from back when I was younger, not necessarily a little boy, but when I was younger. And then lots of ornaments. Noelle and I've been married 23 years, so we've got all those, our first Christmas together and those kind of things. But yeah, and then, you know, both my parents have passed on, but we always take a moment on Christmas morning to remember my mom and dad. You know, take a minute to just sort of bow our heads and thank them for what we have as a family.
It's awesome. Yeah.
I think that's the one thing I miss the most about Christmas. I had a very charismatic, boisterous grandfather who was known for always having a camera in your face. So the best invention to him was when the cameras that you just click and then you click it to go to the next one.
Yeah.
But when I was a child growing up, it was the Polaroid. And so the running joke is that he would take all these photos, but you might be half in them, a finger might be in them. But we miss that so much on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, because you knew that he was always going to be there. So that's nice, you know, to take a moment on Christmas morning when they can't be there with you.
And of course, my kids are all grown up, but when they were little, of course, we had the milk out and the cookies and all that kind of things. And it's really special when you have them at that age. You know, we were talking to Chris Johnson while he filled in for you this week, talking about he's got, I think, is it 4 or 5 or 6 year old who's just old enough to really know that how much Christmas is
coming.
Yeah, it's coming. And so to experience that through the child, I think, is really neat too.
Winter's 15 now, but we still go outside on Christmas Eve and put down little carrots.
I love that you do that. Yes, we've talked about that. Yeah.
Still do it.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, that's
you should keep
awesome.
doing that.
Throw
even when
little
she goes
baby
to
carrots
college.
down. Oh, trust me, I'll be stalking her outside. So I'll be making sure she's all right. So I'll put some carrots out.
What about white Christmas? Because I know that every time that we get close to Christmas, you get out the white Christmas meter.
Yeah.
And that is so very important to a lot of people. And I actually had someone say to me yesterday in a story shoot, remember when we used to have snow on Christmas? And I'm like, well, I don't think that was a thing every single time. But it seemed like it was.
And what everybody already forgets, you know what? It snowed last Christmas.
I know.
It snowed on Christmas Eve, if you remember.
It did.
It switched over to snow that evening. We had just a little covering on the ground on Christmas morning.
In fact, I think I was in St. Louis and it was headed your way.
Yeah, exactly right.
And
that's right.
Yeah. I can remember as a little boy in Louisville, I was maybe 6 or 7, and my dad, we were snowed in, but my dad had to get someplace and walk there. And I had on those rubber boots with the metal clips. I don't know if you remember those.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you would, like snaps.
Oh, yeah.
And I just remember slogging through the snow, you know, trying to keep up. And this little precious memories like that are neat.
Yeah, and so I get people start asking me about a white Christmas, like
in July,
fall.
Christmas in July.
No, those are snow days. And then as you get deeper into fall, but you know, Lexington on Christmas is really weird because we had our hottest Christmas ever, 70 degrees in 1982.
Wow.
The very next Christmas was the coldest Christmas ever at, I believe, 4 below zero. So within 1 year, you had the hottest and the coldest Christmas on record.
But it is so very important to people. I mean,
It
people
is.
really, they just feel
it's
like
magical.
they need it. Yeah.
I mean, it really is. And
So does
it's
Lexington
magical.
have many white Christmases? If you go back the last 10, 20, 30 years, let's say?
No, we don't. Historically speaking, we don't get a whole lot of snow. You go, last year we had a little bit. We've had several Christmases where you've had like a trace of snow or some flurries or something like that. I believe our record for the most snow on the ground on Christmas morning was 6 or 7 inches, actually from back, I forget the exact year, but then in the 1960s. But the pattern leading into this Christmas at least gives us a chance to get some snow this year.
Yeah, that's good.
So we got that going
chance.
for
We'll
us.
take that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do some rapid fire questions,
Boom, here we
okay? Favorite Christmas song? We'll start with Sam.
Silent Night.
I'm dreaming
that
of a
song.
white Christmas.
I was going to go White Christmas too because I'm a weather guy. I have to go White Christmas.
There you go. Favorite Christmas movie?
It's a tie, Christmas Story and White Christmas.
Okay, I'm White Christmas all the way. I may or may not have already watched it 10 times this
Yeah,
season.
I would go White Christmas, but I have to go with the Bailey family. It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Because I even have a village. of It's a Wonderful Life.
That you do. You know, I think people, they wonder what we talk about in the commercial breaks, and it could be anything, but we do a lot of movie quotes, and you and I do a lot of White Christmas movie quotes, and we also do a lot of movie quotes from, I guess, the
Christmas
Griswolds,
Vacation.
Christmas Vacation, you name it. So
We'll even sing Sisters from
we do.
White Christmas every
Yeah,
now
we're
and
going to
then.
perfect that one of these days and do our own little dance with that. All right, favorite Christmas candy. And so you guys get my mom's candy every year. My mom, for years, as long as I've been working, she brings a big old 2 trays now of candy. So I'm kind of
She's very
partial.
popular in the newsroom.
She
isn't
is.
Yes.
People literally wait to
Yes.
see when she. I've already been asked if the sleigh is coming, and I told them it'll be here
They
next
will come
week.
in from their vacation to be in the newsroom
Yes.
for that moment.
Yes.
Fudge. She makes some fudge. I think she makes
Okay.
fudge. I love the fudge.
How about you, Chris?
You know what? I'm a traditionalist. I'm just going straight candy cane because I've been munching on the candy cane
Candy
already.
canes? I love
See?
candy cane
I
bark.
do too. I love anything that has some candy canes in it. Noel brought some stuff in here the other day, Sam, that had a little candy cane sprinkled on it.
Okay.
Stuff is so good. I'm going to go with my mom's. She makes the coconut balls, and then
Yeah.
she also does white chocolate with cashews mixed in with it. So
tasty.
good. Favorite gift as a child?
See, when I was little, I was a little bit of a pyro.
You got coal in your
Sam was a
stocking?
pyro?
I was a little bit of a pyro. I like to light matches, and so I got a chemistry set.
Oh.
Which was probably
Did you blow
not-
something up?
No, but I tried to. And it was probably not the best thing to give a 5th grader, but yes, I remember that chemistry set.
A budding scientist.
My favorite was a big wheel
Oh, the big wheel.
as a kid. Now, how about that? It's a tie. Because I was thinking about this. It's either the big wheel or when I was 2, I got my first Radio Flyer red wagon.
Ooh, I have one.
I
yeah.
still have it.
Me too.
I was going to ask.
too.
Still have
That's
it.
worth something.
Yep,
Still
the
have it.
original. You know, but if you're a kid that grew up in the country like me, a big wheel wasn't so fun because you didn't have
had to have
paved
four-wheel
roads.
drive big
yeah,
wheel,
you
didn't
didn't
you?
have paved roads, and you had rocks, and it just wasn't so good to go across. Mine was a kitchen set, and my parents will tell you it was the best money they ever spent. It was a full kitchen. It had the stove, it had the refrigerator, it had a sink, everything. And they put it together in the stripping room when we were stripping tobacco. And when they brought it in, I just thought it was like gold. And I played with that up until, and then there was, you could get Fisher Price food. And so my mom tells me, she said, that is the best money we ever spent for you because I literally was in that corner. If they couldn't find me, that's where it was. And so, and my mom probably still has it to this day as we're talking. What did you get? Stockings were real big. And we still do stockings even as adults. So what would you get in your stocking?
A paperback book, like something I really wanted.
Cool.
Yeah. Small.
Yeah.
I got fruit. Believe it or not, I got fruit, and one of the coolest things I ever got in a stocking was a Stretch Armstrong. Do you remember Stretch
Yes.
Armstrong?
I don't remember.
The little
Stretch.
jelly-filled thing that you could just stretch until it would and I did pop it. So yeah, you can pop a Stretch Armstrong.
I had a G.I. Joe. Does that count?
Cool.
I always got an orange and grapefruits. And I always thought that was so special. And at the time, I really didn't put 2 and 2 together why I was getting that. But then I learned later on that, you know, my grandfather always ordered fruit from the band.
Sure.
And that was always
It's a big
special. And so
fundraiser,
I
yeah.
always think about that now. And actually, I was just shooting a story the other day on Kentucky traditions. And, you know, we were talking about, you know, in the olden days, that was such a luxury to get. And it was kind of one of those things that was carried over because even for my grandparents, it was something really special if they got really nice like walnuts or the oranges and the
Very
grapefruit.
healthy.
Very healthy.
Yeah.
But then all the candy was at the bottom of my stocking on top of it.
Yeah, you had to dig through the fruit to get
Yeah.
there, right?
We talked about this a lot today because I had a story on about a Christmas tree farmer, real or fake Christmas trees. I already know your answer, Sam.
We have one fake tree upstairs that's small, but I prefer a live tree or a real tree.
And you like to go to the place where you cut your tree and
We've
they
done
take your
that.
picture, right?
We used to take the kids, when the kids were younger, to a place in Madison County. It was a farm. And they just loved it because you go out there and you find it and you cut it down and put it on top of the tree, on top of the car. And yeah, so.
When I was a kid, they were live
Okay.
because, you know, we were in the country.
Yeah.
And you'd cut down your own tree and we'd go up to the head of the holler and you'd scout out trees for the next 2 or 3 years because you knew they were going to grow. But as I got older, Yeah, it was the fakes.
Yeah.
Still
I
have the
love
fakes.
having the real stuff in the house, though, because it does smell really good. And then my dad,
lot of sap.
ever since I've been a grown adult and had my own house, my dad makes my wreath for my front door.
Oh, that's even
and it used to
better.
be from
Wow.
cedar on the farm, and now they've moved to town and it's from their cedar tree now. But still very, very special, and just something I'm really, really glad that he does for me every year. Something that I've started with my dad is, I ring the Salvation Army bell with him, sometimes twice a year.
You've done that forever, too.
I have. We have been doing that now for years, and then that's also something that the three of us started doing that we really just enjoy doing. And it's funny, a lot of people say, well, why are you doing that again, and why are you doing that? And we do it because we love it. Like, that's part of what we do kind of as our TV family together, right?
And you get to see so many people, and you're doing good, and if you can use what, as I like to say, if I can use what little teeny bit of celebrity you have to do some good, I mean, that's the perfect example for
We
it
just
right
love
there.
seeing the people. I mean, I think it always blows our mind that we talk about it out here and we encourage people to come see us.
And then they
people
show up.
really do make that trek to the mall just to come take a picture with us or see us. And that really means a lot to me, I think, every single time. Even if it's somebody that we see every single year that comes, it still means the world.
And I'm not a mall person. I mean, I go to Fayette Mall for what we do, and maybe once or twice, in addition to that during the year. But I love being there for those couple of hours when we do that.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a positive thing, and people are so friendly. They've got smiles on their faces. And to see the kids walk up to the kettle and put some money in
That's
is
awesome.
precious.
Oh, yeah.
So-
yeah.
And there are a bunch of them that do it.
Yeah.
A bunch
We've
of
been
little
doing that for
kids.
what, 5, 6?
Oh, you know what? I
since-
was
since
trying to
came back.
think, and I guess it's
every
as
year
long
since
as
this
you.
will be our
Okay.
6th year.
Thank
together?
goodness Chris is
Sixth
keeping
straight.
track, because they call this celebrity kettle campaign, but we would do it even if that wasn't
This
a
will
part
be our
of it.
7th year.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. And I always appreciate seeing the other folks that are doing it, because they're the folks that, are standing outside. We get to do it inside. So anyway, guys, thank you all so much for sitting down with us. We're family, and
Does this mean we got to do it every holiday now?
yes, we'll have to keep coming
Bring
up
your
with new
candy
stuff.
canes.
Me and Sam are bucking for a monthly appearance on this.
I'll bring my chemistry set.
Oh no, we're going to get Sam a chemistry
Take the
set.
pyro boy out.
Test tubes. Yeah.
Well, I really want to thank the fellas that I call my TV husbands here at WKYT, both Chris and Sam. I really appreciate them kind of sitting down and giving us an inside look at Christmas in their families. I think it's always really neat to learn about what people do in their family for tradition, things that maybe they've started anew or things that they have done for years, and they just keep that going. So I always really appreciate learning that about different folks. So I want to switch gears now and bring you a story that I produced for WKYT for Christmas. And I was thinking about what is an interesting twist on a Christmas story. And I got to thinking about a gentleman who I really adore. I would just love to pick his brain about all things Kentucky, because he truly is the guy that knows, it seems, everything about Kentucky. I first met Ron Bryant several years ago. He would always be a guest here on our afternoon show with Bill and Barb, and he would talk about, we would have him in for Kentucky oddities, just ask him things about that, or maybe, myths and legends at Halloween. And then a few years ago, I produced a story when we were sort of in the middle of eclipse mania, and just kind of talking to him about past eclipse and what people in Kentucky thought of them, especially in the very early years here in Kentucky. And he was just a wealth of knowledge. So I wanted to pick his brain about Christmas and talk about maybe some of the things that we do now, maybe Christmas trees and stockings, and why we do them, and maybe how our ancestors and how the folks in early Kentucky times celebrated their Christmases. So I met him at a wonderful place. If you've never been to Ward Hall in Georgetown, Kentucky, please go visit it. It is a wonderful historic site, and they do a wonderful job of taking you through the house, and you learn so much about it, and it's just beautiful. And Ron helps with the upkeep of that house, and also, again, just a great historian and can tell you most anything about it. So take a listen. This is just a fun story. All of us could learn a little more about the place that we call home here in Kentucky. And if you're not from here, hopefully you'll learn something about our great state. But here's a story about Christmas traditions from the past in Kentucky. At Ward Hall in Georgetown, the oldest Greek Revival mansion in Kentucky, the halls have been decked for the holidays. Most every corner of the 12,000 square foot landmark is decorated in period style. it seemed like the perfect place to talk bluegrass Christmas lore.
Okay, some of the oldest traditions that we celebrate Christmas in Kentucky, of course, came from our mother state of Virginia.
Ron Bryant is a Kentucky historian and caretaker of Ward Hall. He walked us through the home as we talked traditions then and now.
You never put your stockings on the mantelpiece of the fireplace. They would have burnt up from the heat of the fire.
If your stocking didn't catch fire, what was in it would oftentimes be quite the gift.
If you got an orange, you would get it at Christmas time, and it would generally be in your stocking. And you would also have in your stocking an apple and nuts, and that would be such a treat for the children.
When it comes to a tree, Ward Hall has this 14.5-foot live beauty. History has it that the use of greenery has been around since the Middle Ages. Bryant says trees were a German tradition dating back to pagan times when evergreen was a symbol of everlasting life. In 1848, Bryant says the first published tree made decorated ones all the talk.
And actually, Queen Victoria's husband, Prince Albert, who was German, introduced the first Christmas tree that was published in the newspapers in England, and it was also published in America. And the rage for Christmas trees started, especially with the very wealthy, and soon everyone was having a Christmas tree put up.
For years, though, trees were no more than a tabletop decoration, slowly evolving into tall, beaming icons of the season.
A lot of the decorations, of course, now are very glitzy and very bright, but in the old days, you would make your decorations, and a tree even that size would be strung with popcorn. Of course, the mice had a field day with that.
What about if you were naughty or nice? Would you really get a lump of coal?
If you had been a naughty child, you got nothing except something that would remind you that you were naughty.
Christmas is a celebration today, but our ancestors didn't always have a lot to celebrate. Those on the Kentucky frontier, Bryant says, were barely making it. One odd tradition?
One of the biggest things that Kentuckians and Virginians did is on Christmas Day they would go out and fire off their guns, because that was actually an old superstition. It was supposed to keep evil spirits away.
Bryant says another kind of spirit has been a part of holidays past and present.
And plenty of spirits to drink. In fact, that was one Kentucky thing that did not die out. On Christmas Eve, you would drink plenty and you would eat plenty.
So here's to you and your family and friends, and however you celebrate Christmas and the holiday season, that you do so safely and that you have a wonderful time and that you enjoy the magic that is the season. I certainly love everything about Christmas. I love the giving nature of the season and just that it brings out the very best in people. And I just wish that we could keep that going all of the rest of the year and all of the seasons, but I'm truly thankful during this Christmas, and I hope that you are too. And we just say thank you. Thank you for listening to Uniquely Kentucky. We say thank you if you found us through WKYT. Thank you for being a loyal viewer. We really appreciate that. We'll be doing this in the new year in 2019 with new guests and new topics of discussion. And as always, if you ever have something that you would like for us to maybe do on Uniquely Kentucky, just look me up on Facebook at Amber Philpott or look me up on Twitter, and certainly just send me some ideas. We would love to include what you think in on this, and happy to do that, and happy to find the things that you think make Kentucky so unique. So again, thank you so much. We appreciate you listening, and until next time, have a very Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in the new year, or you'll hear us in the new year.